Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be talking about the Samsung Odyssey head-mounted display, which is the flagship head-mounted display from Microsoft partner Samsung. Now, Microsoft's head-mounted displays have kind of come out with a baseline set of features. They are supposed to run on lower-powered machines compared to what things like the Vive or the Oculus Rift require, which means that these head-mounted displays could actually work on a pretty decent end laptop. On Windows 10, you can actually download an app from the Windows Store that tells you if your computer is ready for the virtual reality headsets, which is nice and convenient. Now, the Samsung Odyssey is the flagship for a couple of reasons. It has the best resolution of any of the devices that are available, and it has built-in audio here, so these little ear pads can slide up and down, and they can kind of move around a little bit to give you stereo audio. These are not removable, unfortunately, so if one breaks, you have to send the whole thing in for repairs. And there is no external jack that allows you to plug in your own headset, so it's kind of these little ear flaps or nothing. It does have a built-in microphone down here at the bottom, so you can issue voice controls when you are actually using the headset. It has volume controls down here, some buttons that you can use. And it does have this little wheel here, which adjusts the interpupillary distance. Now, the interpupillary distance helps you kind of adjust the specificity of the centers of the lenses to coincide with your eyes. So if your eyes are closer or farther apart, you can actually adjust it for a better view. Now, in order to put this on, you can pull this visor out just a little bit, but it springs back in place, which is good and bad. When you're putting it on your face, you kind of want to pull it out a little bit so it doesn't scrape, down your face. But the fact that it only goes as far as this bracket allows means that if you can't get this resting close enough, then this will not seal. And that's kind of one of the problems that I've run into thus far, that when you put this on, there is a certain degree of light that comes in underneath through here. At first, I thought it was because I wore my glasses being rather thick, that they would be kind of pushing the padding off of my face, but when I did put it on without glasses, I had the same issue. So it's either I'm not wearing it right or my head's too big. The nose piece right here is two little flaps of silicone, which kind of fit on either side of your nose and are intended to kind of block the light. But I feel that the PSVR headset does actually a better job than these guys do right here. In order to fit this on your head, you can pull out the visor, but you can also use a dial that's right here on the back of the headset to kind of dial it bigger. And then once you have it on your head, you ratchet it in closer so that it gives a snug fit. You got to be careful, though, because if you tighten it too much, you're going to give yourself a headache. This thing is relatively light, but once it's on your head, all of the weight is actually right here on the forehead, and it's pulling kind of like upwards on the back of your head. So it does kind of give you a headache if you tighten it too much, and it can also actually give you neck pain if you wear it for too long. I did read, however, that someone said they wore it more like a crown, meaning they kind of rested it on their head and gave it a little bit of tightening. But that seemed to help with the placement of the face mask around their face so that they didn't have the light bleed. And once this is attached to your head, one of the disconcerting things is that when you try to release it, unlike the PlayStation version where there was a button in the back, you have to kind of dial this thing back. Once it's kind of got the pressure of your head, dialing this thing back actually makes a really loud ratcheting sound, and it kind of sounds like it break. So something I have to be careful of. It does come with a 6-foot cord, and it does have a nice bracket here, so it does keep this kind of in place. And there's also a little bit of a bracket kind of right here that also helps route the wire around the inside of the around the inside of the headset. So that's the headset. One final thing is that it does have two sensors here right in the front. And that's important because this is an inside-out technology, meaning there are no external sensors. All of the sensors actually are contained right here in the faceplate, and they somehow, I guess, magically beam outwards and are received through these two little camera sensors. And that's important because it comes with these two wand controllers. One and two. Now, these are handed, so they are basically, there's a left and a right, and you can't switch the two. So whether you're left or right-handed, you can use either one, but you're kind of stuck using one in each hand. Now, the controller itself has a Windows button, which does things like you would expect the Windows key on your keyboard to do. It does have a little menu, hamburger button is what they call it. It has a touch-sensitive directional pad. So you use this to slide your finger around in order to scroll up and down windows. It also is a directional pad, so it does click. And you also have a directional stick here, and this is primarily used for moving around in an environment. On the side, you have a little clicker button. I haven't figured out what that's for, but you also have a trigger. So when you actually take action, you hold it and you pull the trigger in order to take the action that you want to take. One little kicker that I found, in order to pair this with your Bluetooth dongle on your PC or on your laptop, you turn it on, set your PC to discover new things, and then there's a little tiny, tiny button right there that you got to push and hold in order to get it to be recognized by your system. So if you do end up getting one of these, that's something to keep in mind. Now, this the cup here, if you'll notice, has all of these little dots. When this is turned on, the dots light up. And the dots are used by the sensors in the headset for tracking. So the thing about the Oculus and the Vive is that even when your controllers are outside of the view of the headset, they're still tracked. With the sensors being in the front of the headset, that means when these are out of sight, basically the headset loses track of where the wands are. A lot of people kind of complain about that. A lot of other people say, well, it's not so much of a big deal if it's kind of outside of the range. You can kind of... It's got a good peripheral vision so that you really have to kind of move it someplace significantly out of range in order for it to lose track of it. So overall, the fidelity on the visuals for the display is pretty good, significantly clearer than the PSVR. I can say that with absolute certainty, but also with mathematical certainty, since you can just compare the box values. The tracking for the controls is actually pretty good. What we'll see later when we look inside the Cliff House is that you can actually see these represented as actual items in the virtual world, and how moving them around actually allows you to use a pointer a virtual pointer that extrudes from the center of this, and also allows you to interact with things. So let's get out of the real world and head into the virtual world, and we'll see what the Cliff House has to offer. Okay, so this is us actually inside what they call the Cliff House. This comes pre-installed with the Windows 10 Creators Update, which, if you've received it, actually comes with the support for the mixed reality devices. So if you've gotten your update, you have, I believe, the Cliff House. However, you can't access it unless you hack some registry values. Even then, you can only look at the mixed reality settings in Windows. You need the headset to actually get the house. So what we're looking at here is a view of my desktop. The reason why we have this is so that I can see it. Basically, my entire view is of the Cliff House. So in order to monitor what's going on, I put my desktop here on the wall. So we'll actually come back to this later, but the first thing I want to do is to show you the two controllers in in virtual reality here. So these are exactly as shown in reality. You can see that they've got the lights going on here, which is more of a reference. And if you listen carefully, you can actually hear me banging them together, and you can see them represented very well here in the virtual space. They are laid out exactly as they are in real life, with the Windows button, the hamburger button, the D-pad, and the thumbstick, the weird button, strange side button, the triggers, and when you look at the battery compartment, you actually see battery life here in the virtual world, which is kind of cool. Emanating from the centers of these controllers, you've got these two lines, which if you look really closely, you can see are animated, which is kind of cool. They terminate in pointers up there on the ceiling right now. And we can actually use these to kind of point at the things we want to interact with. In order to interact with something, we then pull the trigger, and it allows us to move things around. So we can put things basically anywhere we want to. I can put this here. Point and click the trigger. We'll get our weather report. So as you can see here, it is a balmy 38 degrees Fahrenheit here in my hometown, which is kind of cool. So I don't even know what I did. Apparently moved it. Anyway, so these controllers allow us to interact with various things, but they also allow us to move. One of the big problems with virtual reality is that people tend to get motion sick when they have FPS-style movements. So the solution for that has been to allow people to teleport. And for a game, it's kind of a little weird. When Skyrim VR was first demoed, that was kind of the way that the developers had allowed you to move around Skyrim. And to me, it was kind of a little weird. It kind of takes some of the realism out of it, but I understand why they do it. Because these are the only controllers that we have here in the house, the only way we can move around is to teleport. So to do so, what we do is we take the thumbstick here, we push it forward, which creates kind of an arc, and then we can put it where we want to be, and then we just let it go. So now we are on another section of the house. See ourselves over there again. And what I'm doing here is by moving side to side with the thumbstick, I can rotate myself around my current location. So you can move to where you need to be, and although you can look around in 360 degrees, sometimes it is just easier to sit stationary and reorient yourself using the thumbstick. So we can move around the house pretty easily just by teleporting ourselves to where we need to be. Unfortunately, it also does allow us to get uncomfortably close to certain elements in the house. But we cannot actually go inside the wall. We can get up close to the wall, but we can't go inside the wall. That's pretty good. Here in the house, however, you'll notice that we do have all of these gigantic billboards here on the wall, and we did see that we had the the desktop view on the other side of this wall, as well as the weather panel. This is a representation of the Microsoft Store, and so we could actually go in and take a look at all of the mixed reality offerings here on the Microsoft Store itself. Now, in order to get through this, you'll notice here the trackpad. When I point at the screen, the trackpad turns into an up and down arrow. When I move my finger along the trackpad on the actual physical device, you'll see the point of pressure as well as where where I'm pointing, and that allows me to theoretically scroll up, and moving up. So you can actually do this if we say Skyworld. So here it's working a little better. So we can actually scroll up and down a page. So if we're on a web browser, we can actually use a web browser here. you scroll through, a web page such as this, you can do that. So that's, let's see, so that's that. Let's take a look at some other options, what we can do here in the house. So this is the media room, quote unquote. It has a nice motif here. And we can also watch movies and videos here using the 360-degree offerings. But one of the cool things is that we can actually pull the walls off. So you could actually replace this with something like, say, Netflix or Hulu, and you could actually have a nice little viewing experience. You can't actually, I don't think, sit in the chair. You can actually stand on the chair, quote unquote. But, for all intents and purposes, we are sitting on the couch under the nice starry sky. So what we have here is basically, let's see what we have. All right, so movies and TV, we want to look at the 360-degree video. So these videos here allow us to actually have a 360. They're specially designed using 360-degree cameras. And we can actually, see some really cool stuff. So, GoPro VR, swimming with wild dolphins in the ocean. Now, what you see here is different from what I see. What I see is a 360-degree offering. And as I'm moving around, oh, that's just creepy. I can look around. But the weird thing about VR is that it kind of freaks me out.
Next time, try using your voice to leave a game. Just say, go to start.
Okay.
To open the start menu, say, go to start again.
So one of the ways we can interact with things here in virtual reality is by using the Windows menu. And when we push the Windows button, we get a menu that floats up just right in front of us, wherever we are. So when we turn around, no matter where we look, there it is. This is kind of like a really quick way to get around to different applications. You'll notice that because we have the desktop over here, we've got a web browser over there, we have the Microsoft Store there. This allows us to generate panels that we can place on walls. So it does show that we're on Ethernet, it shows our volume level. And we can do things like take pictures, still images. We can record video from within here, although in 2D. And the preview is what actually is showing, allows us to show what's... So, of course, because it has a microphone built into the headset, when I actually said the right command word, it fired off that application, which is what just happened. So we have the browser, the store, we have a photo gallery, we have the Microsoft Assistant, Cortana, we have the feedback hub, and movies and TV, which is what we saw there. But we can go into our menu, and we can see other things that we might actually want to have. So, for example, the calendar, we can have here, if we really wanted to. We can actually take this and somehow put it on the wall. There we go. It sticks to the wall. So I can leave my calendar here, so whenever I'm in the house, I can come over here and I'll say, oh, well, it's Veterans Day this weekend. Work with, certain elements.
To close an app faster, look at it and then say close.
Mm-hmm.
Try it out.
So Cortana every now and then will break in with some useful. You can do things like get some of these other apps in here, such as Learn Mixed Reality. You can also get your music, so forth. We do have Netflix and Plex, which we can put wall. So again, we could put this in a dedicated room, and we can actually watch, what we have on Netflix. I don't really know how useful it is to actually spend time with this headset on watching for 2 hours, unless you have specifically designed VR content to watch. You can do it, I guess, if you really want to. So one of the things that these Windows headsets allow you to do is what they call room scale VR. Now, I'm sitting here in a chair in front of my PC, so I don't actually have to worry about room scale. But if I were to stand up, for example, to play Space Pirate Trainer, I would definitely want to stand up in a clear area and play the game. The only problem being is that with the headset on, I don't know exactly where I am in the room. So the room adjustment allows you to set up boundaries in your physical, in the virtual world that correspond to the physical space that you have available to you. So you would use room adjustment and somehow designate your working area, for example. And what would happen is that when you are in your game or environment, you would see boundaries on the floor that indicate kind of where your physical locations are. So I'm surrounded by desks, basically, in my basement, so I would definitely not want to walk into a desk while I'm playing the game. So when you do room adjustment, you can actually set up those boundaries to prevent you hurting yourself. Okay, so this is the setup experience. We'll place this here, and this is one of the first things that shows up when you actually plug the headset in and come to the house for the first time. So basically, all it is showing you how to more or less interact with the environment. Door looks off, move it with the touchpad. Okay, so here we have just a regular open world. And in this case, we're going to use the voice command. So we'll say next. Or not, we'll just point to the chat. The microphone seems rather fiddly sometimes. All right, so the one thing I did want to try is the Holo Tour. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to... Okay. So let's take a look at Holo Tour. Turn down the volume because I can't even hear myself talk.
Welcome to Holo Tour, the experience where you get to travel without limits. My name's Melissa, and I'll be your personal tour guide. Let's go see Rome in real life.
So virtual tourism is a thing that VR is supposedly
your eyes. We're actually
really
standing in Piazza Navona in Rome, a city that's been home to emperors and artists, popes and gladiators. And, as you can see, lots and lots of tourists.
Okay, so rather than give you the tour of the Holo Tour application, we'll just kind of leave it at that. So basically, this is kind of what the Cliff House has to offer. It's kind of a glorified launcher, more or less. So you can come in here, you can post a lot of things on your walls. Supposedly there's a way where you can actually get some of these guys, forget exactly how to get them, but you can actually get some additional furniture and decorations into your house. But it's really not much of anything. It's a good experience and a good way to allow you to mess around with the locomotion and using the menus and things like that. But aside from that, it's not actually something really to use a lot. When Microsoft gets its Steam VR implementation working, then I'm not exactly sure where the Cliff House will factor into it. Probably won't factor into it very much. But right now it's kind of a glorified application launcher. So that's pretty much what we've got thus far. Maybe once I do get the room scale stuff set up, I'll do a little video, I guess, using Space Pirate Trainer or something else. We can actually get a real sense of how VR works. And because we do have the ability to record it here using XSplit, we can actually watch me while I do spastic flailing around. So I'm going to shut this down now, and I'm going to see if I can't process this video for upload. Thank you for watching.